That's what they're buying. They're buying your art, but they're buying you. And that's why it feels so damn great. It's a massive thumbs up to your existence. But they buy this art and they take it home and they hang it on the wall. And I swear to God, it's a reminder, a daily reminder for them of what's possible for them. So it takes time to figure out what it is you want to make that you love. And the only way to do that is to dive into your own personal inquiry. This is something that is so interesting to me. And it can take 20 years or it can take a couple years, depending upon the questions you ask and depending upon the instruction and the mentorship and what you read and how you approach this. And that's what I focus on with people, how to take their art, move it into an area where they actually are super, super excited and love it. And they're deriving their art more from within themselves than from looking outside of themselves, right? So this is that stage when we begin, the work's more derivative because we don't know. So we look around to see what other kinds of work we like, and then we kind of use it a little bit and try to get a foothold in this. But that kind of work, that if we put it out there and we sell it and we try to sell it, and I'm not saying you can't, it's what you're giving up for going at this selling thing a little early is the focus. Welcome to Art to Light, a podcast for the creatively curious. My name is Nicholas Wilton, and each week I'll help you rediscover not just the art of your life, but the art in your life. Join me as we explore that perfect blue at twilight, the wild frontiers of art making, and the extraordinary joy of finding your way as you go. If you're starting out and you're a little unsure, and then you happen to sell something that you've made that's kind of derivative or you don't really like it, but somebody else really likes it and they actually buy it, it's really hard to ignore that because it's just this big confirmation. I can always tell someone who's kind of early in their career because they will be talking about their art to me and they'll say, yeah, and I did this work and this one sold for a lot, like that one, and this one, I could have sold 10 of those, and they're still thinking that the work is good because it's sold, and they're needing to tell themselves that I've got terra firma here, that I sold something. That must mean my work is good. And to a certain extent, it's true. It's awesome, right? It's awesome that somebody loves your work, and it's incredible to sell a painting, and you want to celebrate that. But you don't want to celebrate it too much. You don't want to pick it up and adopt it as part of your legitimacy. At the same token, you don't want to adopt the idea that because no one's buying your art, if you're not selling it or no one's asking, that your work's not very good. Neither of those are helpful. So we're on a fast track to get our art into a place that we love. So this is the business plan, It's a follow the breadcrumbs. There is no other way. It's notice what you love in your work. Notice what you love in other people's work. Notice what you love in yours and do more of it and chase that down and get it so it's really clear and really strong. There's these questions that I use and I share these a lot. If you get stuck in your work, you want to ask the question, what about this mess that I've made do I like? What small part? There must be a part that I like here. And usually there's some little something in there and you can identify it. And then when you can identify it, and it's not necessarily logical and it's different for everyone. It might be the way two colors push up against each other. It might be a textural thing, or it might be the way a form is rendered, but make no mistake, in your work are the clues as to where you need to go next. And then the next question you can ask yourself is, okay, I can see what I like here. How can I make it more? How can I make it show up and be more noticeable? That part, how can I make that part more noticeable? That invites kind of bold moves. It's like, I mean, are you seriously telling me the part that I like is this tiny corner and everything else I don't, so I should maybe paint over that? Well, kind of. Or expand the part you love, make that really bigger. That's kind of what I often do. I just go much bigger with what I'm doing. So it becomes more clear. There's more of it. I mean, it makes total sense if you're not happy in your life and someone's talking to you and they're saying, well, what's going on? And you're like, well, I just, the only part of my day I like is cooking. I like making my breakfast. And after that, it's pretty sucks. The rest of the day, I don't like my work. I just sort of enjoy cooking. And then it would seem like a pretty good piece of advice to say, well, maybe, you should cook a little more. Maybe you should cook dinner too. And this is so simple. Like, this is so simple to get this art thing going. And I know it's tricky because you can't see the end result, but we don't have to worry about the end result. Again, we're finding our way. We're finding our way as we go here. And it's so cool because your art hasn't been made yet. And that's why it's so valuable. And that's why you'll be able to sell it. So the third question, right? The first thing, what in this mess do I like? There's something here that's good. And once I find it, how can I do something to make that more clear? And then when you have that more clear, how can you take it another step? How can you optimize this piece of art, whether it's a sculpture, macrame, whatever, painting? How can I take this one more step by introducing the opposite of what I love? Right? So maybe it's a really beautiful saturated colors that you love. Well, asking yourself, what's the opposite of that? Maybe it's a dark, unsaturated color. How can I bring that in? Those questions lead you to something that is going to be more potent than something that is just made and then put aside. Without the inquiry, without taking it another step or two, it's just going to pile up and it'll be kind of mediocre, and it can take your energy away. And this is what's dangerous. It's not the fact that you sell your art or not. It's that you're going to lose momentum and you're not going to learn how to make the thing that you're here to make in your life. I mean, the stakes are super high. You are going to create something that the world doesn't know it needs yet. And you don't even know what that is yet necessarily, right? So it's important to be moving the ball down the field. It's important to be getting it to where you make a thing on a Wednesday and then you do something on a Thursday and you can compare them, and something on a Friday you can see on a Wednesday, and then what happens Thursday and you get a little further with it. And then on Friday, it's a little further along. This is the sequence of finding your way. And it applies to any kind of art you want, but it's getting more clear. And as you get more clear with yourself, when you put your work out in the world, when you show your work, the communication is clear. If it lands for you, if it's stay awake joy that you're so excited by this thing you make, I'm pretty sure that it's going to have an impact like that on others. Messaging comes through your art. Your feelings come through your art. And when people come across it and it's strong and it's clear, they just locate it. And it's like, yeah, I want that. I get that. I see that too. Now, most people won't, but we don't care about most people. We want those people that say yes to your work, yes to what you're after. And there's a gajillion of them, but they won't come. You won't find them if you're not clear. So this is kind of wonderful because not only do you get to make your work now, you get to have a life where you're going to create your legacy. You're going to do something that no one has made in the history of mankind and womankind. You're going to make something that has never been made before, and you can love it, and you can love the process of doing it. And the process of doing it, that you need to have results. You need to be able to look at the past work and then the paintings that you're throwing over your shoulder day after day, week after week. And when you look back, it'll start giving you a direction. You don't get to know ahead where you're going. You only get a sense of it by looking back at what you made. So It doesn't take long with this kind of thinking, especially if you're not trying to sell your work in the beginning. And I know I have got all kinds of different folks listening here, different levels and different stages, but you can be in a kind of hibernation stage in the beginning. It's like the difficulty of art making and the challenges of it and feeling vulnerable, and you just kind of stay away from it. Maybe you got into it for a while, then you go back. But hibernation comes for people who are really successful at this. And in a way, there's even more pitfalls because you have a kind of work that others have accepted. Maybe you're showing in galleries, maybe you've been doing it for a long time, and it's just becoming a little stale. So that's scary. And now you've got to change it. Now you got to let go of the predictable thing and a crowd of people that are cheering you on and say, okay, I got it. I'm doing something else now. So I can feel more aligned with my work. You need congruency with yourself and what you make. It's so, so powerful. Art making is the process of becoming yourself. And when you're in your art in the most deepest, powerful way, people will die for that. They want that. And it's just crazy, right? But people can feel it. People can feel your commitment, and they want a piece of that. It's important also to understand the psychology. So where I just went was get your messaging, get your art so you love it. Get it so it's clear, so it's strong, and so people can feel it. First you, and then they can feel it. But it's helpful to understand in this business thing of art, why people are coming for art in the first place. Why do they want to talk about it? Why, whenever you go to a new city, it's like, wherever, Santa Fe or Albuquerque, and they always have a tagline, land of, cactuses and drama, arts and music. They always throw in art, every city art, we all want to have art's a huge thing, a cultural thing. It's the ideal. It represents possibility. And that's why people always attach to it. The arts are like sacred, It really is. It's a soul thing that we're involved in. It's not like land of real estate. It's like we don't call our developing city, land of real estate opportunity. It's like sun, surf, and art. It's like this is so meaningful for people. Now, that most people won't ever explore really their creativity. And that's sort of my mission, to let people know that art making is available for every person who wants to and is interested, but most won't. Most, they stay clear of it and they stay in other arenas, and that's fine. And they do other things. But what they see when they come and they see what you're doing, there's a part of them that it ignites for them. It's the part of them that they all have, that we all have. We all have this creative fire inside of us. And it comes out for different people. It comes out in sports. It comes out in other activities that people do, golf, whatever it is. But when people look at your work and they feel you in it, and you're committed to the relationship of it. You're engaged with the relationship, not so much the piece by piece by piece, because those are kind of hit and miss, but more that this is the thing I'm doing outside of myself, and I'm in a conversation with myself, and I'm committed, and I'm doing this, and I'm scared, and I'm showing up anyway. When somebody looks at your work, it lights that up for themselves. And we all want this. We all want to feel this way. But they can't do it for themselves, but they can see it. And this is so great because they can recognize it in your work. And so they say to themselves, I like that. I like that. Whatever, I don't know why. I just want that. I like that. And I'm going to buy it. And I can't make a thing, but I'm going to buy this thing that you've made. And the more they know about you, by the way, the better. Your story, why you do it, who you are, why this was hard, all of that, because that's what they're buying. They're buying your art, but they're buying you. And that's why it feels so damn great. It's a massive thumbs up to your existence. But they buy this art and they take it home and they hang it on the wall. And I swear to God, It's a reminder, a daily reminder for them of what's possible for them in a way. And when you start realizing that, you can start letting go of this, like, well, I'm just an artist and, I don't want to charge too much. And it's like, people need this. They can't do it. They need you to show them what's possible, and they'll pay a ton for it. So that's kind of like, that's your audience. That's who you're wanting to attract. And that's a particular kind of person. The more you get clear on what you're making and who you are in relationship to what you're making and why it matters, it's a little bit of purpose in here. When you're on purpose, it's important to connect to that a little bit. Purpose is so utterly powerful. I mean, I can say right here, right now, like, my purpose on this planet, besides being an artist, is to show other people what's possible in their art, in their life. Like, I'm 2000% positive, and it's strong and it feels strong. People can feel it. And I can say, I'm there. I want to do this. Like, I'm the guy to do that. I friggin' love that process of people realizing what's possible and then getting more and more clear. And they just take themselves on a creative journey that nobody will ever have in the rest of mankind. It's like, it's only your journey and only available for you only now. And how much time you have left to experience this thing, like, that's it. And yes, you'll have artifacts of that way you've been, the artifacts, the conversations you had, the effort, the inspiration, those create an artifact through an art making process, and it creates art. That's the result of this relationship with your art. So you got to get to that point. And that's I've had students do this, and this is not an infomercial for my coaching. There's lots of ways to figure this out, but you got to start relying on and looking outside of yourself for information, for guidance, for people who are ahead of you. Not so much for how to make your art, but how to think about it. What does it look like for somebody to be engaged in their work and excited by it? And it seems sustainable. It seems like they're in a flow with it. How do we get in flow with this? And I have a lot to talk about around that, but it'll be another episode. We want to start living in more of this flow state where creativity is at our fingertips all the time, living more presently. This is so important to get this art thing. I'll never forget it. I remember I had a business, a gift business for a while. And I was an illustrator and I made all these products I had business partners. The idea was I was going to put this cool art on things like boxes and mirrors and we went to these trade shows and I did all these birds and it was really beautiful. Like I still like a lot of the things I made, And we went to this trade show and I set it all up and I put all the things on a table. And there's thousands of people walking by and there's booths all over the place. And people weren't coming into my booth, like it was kind of embarrassing, and I so much so that I kind of had to sit to the side and they just weren't even going in, I couldn't get them to, it just wasn't exciting, and then I kind of would look from the booth on the outside and look in. It wasn't that most exciting of a booth and I had never done one before, so the next year I came back and I made, better colors and I put things on the wall and I made it like a thing you would want to go in, you got to attract people. Like everyone's walking around the planet wanting to experience something. And this is your customer. This is the person who comes to look at your work or sees it in a magazine. You got to give them an emotional connection, an experience that's potent. It can't be mediocre. It just can't. I don't know how to sell that kind of work. I only know how to help people to get their work to where it's in the top 10%. And there's something kind of amazing about it that's going to land for people. But people weren't coming into this booth. So the next year I showed up and I made it more interesting. And that kind of helped. But I'll tell you, what made it more interesting and or more powerful and really made us start selling was I just started getting in conversations with people and sharing with them what I was doing and how I was making this and why I was so excited about it, which I am naturally really excited about my art. And I just started talking. I just kept the energy going. And it's amazing. It's like bees to honey. If people are walking around a trade show, or a gallery or a city block, whatever, a flea market are perfect examples, and somebody is doing something that they're into, people just come over. People just want to see. They just everyone's walking around the planet. What's in this for me? How can I experience a bit more aliveness, And so when you start realizing that's the state of your customer, and now it's up to you to get and it's not a fake thing. This is you. The more you can connect to who you are and the more powerful you can say it, and the more vulnerable you can be, and the more risky you can be, and the more out on a limb you can be, the stronger and more interesting your work will become. The reason is it's going to feel like you. And the reason that's cool is because there isn't anybody else like you. And in the world of fine art, and underline this point, being different is everything. It doesn't serve you to look like somebody else. It doesn't matter if you're in the same galleries with other people. It doesn't matter if the same collectors have bought your work. What matters at the end of the day for you is that your work feels like you, because then it will be different. And differences are what people are killing for. When your work's different, if you focus for the first year on just making work and didn't try and sell it, it's going to have a much higher chance of rising to the surface of things when it's just dropped into the culture, when it's put out there. Why? Because it's different. So you get it all. You can't sell the work. It's only possible if you're really into this and your life's great with your art and you love doing it and you're so excited about it. Then people will want it. You kind of want to not want to sell your work. That's sort of the secret sauce to this, that it's, because that helps with your pricing, right? You're not going to give something away that is really great, that you love. I mean, this gives you so much confidence. You can talk to galleries, you can talk to people about it. I'm just into this, and you don't need a lot of reasons why. You don't need to get hung up on the purpose of your art. It's yours and you're just into it and you're excited. And I don't know what I'm making yet. And it's in construction. It's under construction. This thing's coming, but I'm so friggin' excited. Check this out. And so you can start talking about it. And this is a beautiful segue into the marketing of it. Start talking about what you're doing and the progress you're doing. And when you feel you've got this thing going where something's going on with you and your art, now you can start sharing that. And I mean on a social platform, on Instagram or on a Facebook, but not to the point where it takes away from what you're doing. You just have to be truthful and use it to amplify and broadcast what you're learning. Even if it's my art it was so crappy last summer and it's less crappy now, but I'm so excited because I see how much I've improved and I'm liking this more. Check it out. That's so viral, that is, who doesn't want to see somebody doing this? You see, you're doing something that is so rare and people would kill to have the nerve to be able to do this. And I think this is something that artists don't realize, the value of who we are and what we're doing as role models for the culture. I swear that the world is, the way this is heading and the need for creativity and right brain thinking, all of that, it's this is our time. Part of this business thing is your come from. And that what you're making is so, so important. It's so needed. Okay, so that's kind of the psychology of it and kind of the path to get into. And if you've been doing this a long time, you've got to re-engage with it and get it into a place that you're excited by it and a little nervous by it again, like you were when you started before. I used to say, create a website. That's the next thing. But I think either thing is really great. You need either a place where people can see your work that's open 24/7. And that can be Instagram, that can be a website. But whatever it is, you want to be sharing and showing what you're doing and the process of your unfolding. Do not think you just have to put on things that are successful looking. Put on all of it. Your journey is what people are buying. And yes, there's artifacts that they get to take home that thing, but they're buying your story. They're buying what you're doing and the struggles you're having and the wins and all of it. All of it. It's all connected. It's you. So that makes it kind of like easier because there's a lot more things to talk about, right? But the journey of what you're doing, especially now, people who are starting out have an advantage. Beginning anything, you drop into the world and you've never done something and you've done something and suddenly there's a thing and it appears and that's exciting. That's so exciting for people to see, and they get to recalibrate who you are by something you've made. And like, it becomes almost newsworthy, oh my God, she was selling insurance or she was doing a thing and then she stopped. She was tired of that. And as a side thing, she started painting at her kitchen table. Check these out. Oh my God, look, this is the summer, she went all summer. Look what she's done now. Look, her neighbor has seen this and now they're going to buy a piece and they're going to tell a friend. So this is important. And the sharing and talking about what you're doing, which should come naturally because if it's exciting and it's the best damn thing in your life, it's easy to do. So everything I've shared with you in this business plan of art making is not hard. You just have to be into it, otherwise none of this will work. So this is the fast track to killing it in your art sales and in all the opportunities that come as a result of becoming more and more clear about who you are and what you're doing and what you're involved in. Now, the people that start following you, and this is just old school business tactic, you need to collect them. You need to love them because most people won't relate to what you're making. So people who do, connect with them and stay connected to them. And the easiest way to do that is to get their email and get their name and stay connected to them. They're interested in what you're doing. Probably like right now, you probably have, even if you're just starting out, you've got 100 people that would care a little bit about what you're doing. Your brother, your cousins, your great aunt, their friends, the people at that wedding party. You'd be surprised. You can get about 100, 200 people pretty easily on an email list. And then you simply have to share your story with them. And these are the people that you're going to grow. Because you're going to share something you've done once a month, once 6 weeks, send something out, get a constant contact, an email provider, send out a little newsletter, a little blog post, whatever it is. It can be video. It can just be a photograph of your art to start out. And be truthful and tell them what you're doing and tell them what you're excited about and share that enthusiasm. And just say, hey, I'm still here and I'm just doing this. I just wanted to show you what I'm doing. Listen, if you've got a friend that, you think would like my work, please forward this on to it. I'd be so appreciative. I'm having just the best time over here. And I can't wait to share with what's coming in the summer, and you can do an open studio, but you get 100 people, 200 people on an email list. It doesn't take long, a few months of paying attention to get it to 500. It doesn't take long at all. 2,000 people. You get 2,000 people who care about what you're doing and you stay connected to them over a year or two. You can now tell them, I'm going to have a show. I'm going to announce a thing and I'm going to open this up on my Instagram account, or I'm going to be in San Francisco and I'm going to have a pop-up show and I'd love you to come and I'd love to finally meet you. I've been talking to you for 2 years. That's it. That's the business plan. And you do more of it. And the more things you start, and you'll start selling your work, you'll start getting connected to people, but it starts feeding into the energy that you have for your art. It becomes easier as you get going with this. You get more input, more energy coming in, and that starts to create the momentum. But the whole thing, the whole project rests upon one simple thing, and that's you getting connected to what you love, right? In your life and in your art. And, it's another episode for sure, but Getting your life so it's optimized for creativity is part of this. And participating in your art, 20 minutes a day, an hour every other day, whatever it is, whatever you can do, repetition, repeatedly doing something, short bursts are, frequency is everything. But you don't have to do it a long time. You're just in conversation. I get sometimes I have a lot of friends and people I want to see, and I get really busy and I want to talk to my kids and my daughters, and you can just start feeling overwhelmed. But here's the thing, you can just send a text to somebody and just go, Eric, man, I've just been thinking of you. Hope you're doing great. That is so much. And that takes 20 seconds. But it relieves the anxiety of God, I'm just such a bad friend. I haven't seen them I haven't talked to them. And we do this to ourselves. I haven't talked to them. I haven't talked to my daughter. It's been 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. And it tends to snowball. It's the same way with your art. I haven't done art now. It's been 2 weeks. It's been 3 weeks. It's oh my God. I lost it, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. You don't start that. It's just little bits. Send a text to somebody, do your art for 10 minutes. 10 minutes will lead to 20 the next time. You're in a relationship. You want to be having the conversation. If you're having that dialogue, even for 10 minutes, it changes how you drive home after you've been at the studio. It changes how you show up in your job. It changes what you think about. You've got to do this so you can start transforming yourself, so you can start unfolding, so you become more and more yourself and living in a way that is optimized for you. And your art will show that. And people will recognize it. They're going to see it in you and they're going to see it in your art. They're just completely together. So that's it. That's it. There's all kinds of business schools you can go to, online marketing and tricks and everything. But man, when you understand what it is that human beings are after, and the fact that you're demonstrating that, and you can chase this, and you can develop something that's your own and make it so you're so excited and you're so passionate, and that is what does it. That creates an incredible kind of momentum and an almost cascading effect, an unfolding of yourself and your career that it's fast. It's really fast. So I hope that was helpful. I no longer worry about selling my work. I can increase it by posting more, but all I know is if I stay fired up, then I have a gajillion choices. So anyway, you guys, if you're interested, show notes to this are over. There's some links in there. And if you go to arttolife.com and click on podcasts, you can check out all the other things we have going on. I do a lot of coaching around this, primarily in the Creative Visionary program, but in my workshops. This whole approach of what I'm sharing and the absolute possibility for anyone who's interested in this is really what Art to Life's all about, and it's what I'm all about. So it's an honor and just so great to stay connected to you guys. And I should say this, we need to be with each other to do this hard work or to do this challenging work. And part of how I do what I do is by doing this and staying connected. So if you could leave a review or, leave a comment on our Instagram about this podcast, but, rate this podcast or leave a review for this podcast. It's really how they're put out because I'm interested in connecting and helping as many people as possible find their way with this. So again, thanks so much for being here, and I will talk to you really soon. Okay. Hey, thanks for listening to the Art to Life show. If you enjoyed the podcast, please help me get the word out by sharing it with your friends on Instagram at arttolife_world. The recording of this and all episodes, along with a place to leave comments, see additional photos, and discover a whole new approach to making art, can be found by going to arttolifepodcast.com. And secondly, if you could leave a rating and review in whatever app you're listening on today, I would super appreciate it. It makes a big difference. And last but not least, before you go, if you'd like to be on my artist list, every Sunday morning I send out a video blog all about art making. Go to arttolifepodcast.com to sign up. And all these links are in the show notes, of course. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.